The federal government has ordered one of Australia's biggest automotive recalls targeting defective Takata airbags. The compulsory replacement scheme will now cover 4 million vehicles because the government was unhappy with the industry's response. The list of affected car makers includes Ford, Holden and Volkswagen, as well as Toyota and Mazda, which had already organised a voluntary recall. The airbags have a defect that can cause them to explode. They're linked to at least 20 deaths around the world. But the details are still a little confused, and as Louisa Rebgetz reports, some airbags may have to be replaced more than once.
David Ford bought his Subaru 4 years ago. It needs the airbag replaced, but he's being told that won't happen until the end of the year.
I bought the car because of safety features. That was one of the considerations. So I've now got a car that doesn't have those safety features that I bought the car for.
He's among millions of drivers affected by the Takata airbag recall.
There's no doubt that this is one of the largest and most significant recalls in the nation's history.
A voluntary recall on the airbags was announced last year, but the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission says some manufacturers didn't act swiftly enough. So the government has now made it compulsory, adding more than 1 million cars to the recall list.
This information has been in the hands of the government for months and months and months. We have called for this recall for over 6 months and this government has done nothing.
We thought the industry was doing an extremely good job in actually getting through the Takata recall process through our voluntary process, but we respect the fact that the government's decided to go down this path.
The problem with the airbag lies in the design. It lets moisture in and the propelling mechanism can send metal objects flying at drivers and passengers. The most critical, the Alpha airbag, of which 27,000 are still on the road.
They're a minority, but it's critical that those airbags be taken out, and if anybody's got an Alpha airbag, they stop driving the car immediately.
At least 20 people have been killed around the world, including a 58-year-old man in Sydney last year, his death linked to the Takata airbag in his Honda CR-V. In Darwin, a 21-year-old woman suffered serious injuries when she was hit by a piece of metal from her airbag in April.
Our investigation has been running for many, many months, and we've shown that these car companies continue to put their interests ahead of consumers.
That's leaving drivers like David Ford angry. He's furious he has to drive his family around in a car he's not comfortable with. Louisa Rebgetz, ABC News.
So how can you find out if your car is on the list and what you need to do about it? Jeremy Fernandez explains.
The list of cars with faulty airbags has been ever growing. Manufacturers are now being compelled to contact anyone who needs a replacement, but they won't always have up-to-date records, so the responsibility falls to the owner. The recall is now compulsory. The ACCC website lists the car models that are affected, and now an extra 1.3 million cars with faulty airbags will be added to that list by April 3rd, and it'll include more big names such as Ford, Mercedes, Benz, Tesla, Land Rover and Audi. So how do you find out if your car is affected? Well, first you need to find your vehicle identification number. That's often under the windscreen or near the driver's door. Once you have your VIN, you'll be able to enter it into a searchable database on your car maker's website. Manufacturers say they're confident they can quickly fix these faults, but if it takes longer than a day, they have to give you alternative transport. The replacement must be free and won't affect car insurance costs. So what about the 1.7 million cars that have already had their airbags replaced? Well, some of them ended up with the same faulty airbags. However, the industry can't say just how many.
The issue here is the technology is safe up to 6 years. So we replace the bag as it gets closer to 6 years in full knowledge that that bag will need to be replaced at a later date, thus keeping consumers and motorists safe.
So for now, the advice is work out if your car is faulty and contact the manufacturer immediately. By the year 2020, all the defective Takata airbags will need to be decommissioned.